Alright, here we go. Again. What is it today? I don't know what day it is. I know it's the 19th. It's the 19th, day before another frickin' birthday. Sarah's jacked up about birthdays. I feel like a dick because every time she mentions it, I keep telling her I canceled them a long time ago. Quit it. Then she gets poo-pooed because I'm poo-pooing. What day is it? It is Wednesday the 18th. Wednesday the 18th of June. Just like that. We're going to start this off on a little quick serious note, alright? So Sarah's sifting through the literally hundreds of hungry children right in her own frickin' backyard. Again. Took note that one girl, which had one baby that wasn't even a year old yet, X amount of months old, a 2-year-old and a 4-year-old or something, hasn't ate in 2 days. Hasn't had food in 2 effing days, right? And then, was it yesterday, the day before yesterday? From the deep state of Canada, the spineless lizard that's been installed as the Prime Minister just announced billions more he gave to that leech Zelensky to fund a so-called fund a war that was lost before it started. I don't even know what to say. When you are directly aware of how many children's tummies are hurting because they don't have food in them in Canada, as we watch these lizards funneling, stealing billions of dollars from all the people here and throwing it down. It's amazing. What do you even say to that? Imagine if that piece of shit, not that the guy, obviously, if you ever seen a video of the lizard that's been installed here in Canada, when you see him beside Trump, he's just a spineless lizard piece of shit puppet. That's all the government is in the deep state country of Canada. That's it. I like to see the look on the faces of those sons of bitches. If they were to look at some of these girls, these women, and look at their hungry kids and listen to stories of when the last time it was they had a full fucking bag of food in the house from the store. I like to see their fucking faces as they listen to those kids and how hungry they are, and then they turn around and steal billions of dollars and funnel it out of Canadistan to go, fund a war. Yeah. There you go. That's what's on my mind this morning, unfortunately, and if some people don't want to hear it, I don't give a flying shit if you don't want to hear it or not. If you don't want to hear it, you're a spineless lizard coward too. Spineless lizard cowards. Anybody who doesn't want to face this reality and talk about this truth is a coward. Scared, useless coward. Makes me angry. Makes me wish. I wish one day I could just come back as or be today or have the assets to create an elite team to just go get the job done and clean up the bullshit. Just get it done. You know what I mean? Well, that'd be just sweet. Sweet to be able to do that. There you go. There's the opener for today. Sorry if it's a bit of a downer. I don't want it to be, but it's just the reality. It needs to be talked about, you know? So frustrating. Unbelievable. All those people that have... Yeah, okay, I'll stop. You know what I'm going to say. Moving along. I still got that list of emails that I numbered 1 to 14 the other day, and I'm going to keep digging in those right now. This is from a friend of ours, Ricardo Nascimento. He's been dug deep into this topic for a long time. He shared a lot here. He was friends with the man who recently passed away that had the campground on mainland British Columbia, right across from Vancouver Island, where they saw these beings all the time, and that piece of shit website that manipulates innocent people, lies. They went there and used up this guy that had the campground, abused him. Anyway, Ricardo has wrote us again, and I'm not sure if this is a while back, and I do not recall reading this from him. He's agreed to come on here eventually one day, too. This timing, hooking up. Anyway, this is from Ricardo. Possible Dogman sighting south of Fort McMurray. It's crazy how much shit goes on around Fort McMurray, Alberta. That's where that crazy ass Tyrannosaurus-y, whatever you want to call it, recording came from. Those guys getting firewood just south of Fort McMurray. Big, huge oil field up there. Anyway, here we go. It's Ricardo here again. I'm using an unfamiliar laptop, and I somehow sent this halfway through writing it, so I'll start from the beginning again to minimize the confusion. Hope you and Sarah and the family are doing well, staying happy and healthy. I just finished watching your video entitled, quote, State Patrol Never Asked Me Again, My Career Was Threatened, end quote. I titled that past email, or video. You read an email from a fellow who had kept pace with an enormous canine driving his vehicle at 45 miles per hour down the road. We've had that same similar episode happen a couple times reported in here. As I was listening, a memory popped into my head from about 25 years ago. I can't remember what time of year it was, but it was dark, so it had to be late summer or early fall because there was no snow, and the trees hadn't started turning yet. I was driving to Edmonton one night, and I was coming to the Hanging Stone River. I had just passed the Department of Highways yard and was parallel to the Hanging Stone River campground when I noticed two bright reflections on the other side of the river, on the slope of the hill near the top. This grabbed my attention at the time because I had driven that highway for years, and I couldn't remember seeing reflectors in that spot before. And as I crested the hill on the north side of the river, heading down to the bridge, I was still looking at the reflectors. Then, when I realized that it was eye shine, because I could see the silhouette of some kind of an animal. The eyes were huge. Like I mentioned above, I thought they were reflectors of some sort. I never took my eyes off this thing. It was dimly lit by my headlights, and it was about halfway between the road and the tree line. As I was driving past this thing, I could see the shape of it. And what it looked like to me was a giant doe or a cow moose because there were no antlers, and it was sitting on its haunches like a dog would. It never shifted its gaze. It just sat there staring across the river. I was looking at it in profile as I passed. The first thing that crossed my mind was the sheer size of it. So I figured it must be a really big cow moose. Then it struck me how odd it was for a moose to be sitting on its haunches like that because it looked just like an enormous dog. Then the goosebumps hit me, and I put the pedal to the metal and sped away. But as I did that, I was thinking of how silly I was to be afraid of a moose sitting like a puppy. I can still picture it in my mind's eye, just sitting there staring off across the river. It looked like a giant dog, but my mind wouldn't let me process that, so it was a big cow moose. At that point in my life, I was curious about the Sasquatch, and I'd never heard of the Dogman, so neither of those things were even on my radar at the moment. And every time I've told that story, I've always said it was a moose. So for your video to trigger that memory so vividly, I believe that I have been wrong all these years about what I saw that night. And I believe that I do know now what it actually was. As always, thank you for what you're doing. You have most certainly made a huge to the people who need to know that they are not alone. Also, please don't forget about Robert and his family. I think that if anyone can help them find justice for what they've been put through by that fat piece of human garbage, MM, and the BC government, it's you. Happy hunting. All my best wishes to you, Sarah, and the family. All you stay safe. Look after one another. Your friend, Ricardo. There you go. I know you're probably here sometimes, Ricardo. Sorry, I don't remember getting to that email before. But I got to it. And hopefully we'll have you on here to tell your story soon here one day. One day. Next. Next voice to be heard, patiently waiting in the background. This is titled Haunted. Dear Steve, hello, my name is Peter. I live in northern Maine, but I am from Portsmouth, New Hampshire. I'm a police officer by trade and have served as chief for one small department. But from the age of 16, I've been walking the path of a photographer. I'm a truth seeker at heart and have been delighted to have discovered your videos on YouTube. Whether people realize it or not, the fact that you simply share stories from other lives out there who would otherwise be drowned out by the elite, politicized digital agenda is a rare and much needed source of comfort and empowerment to so many. Thank you for having enough courage for those of us who are still standing on the edge of the battlefield. May many of us join you so you don't have to paddle waves with your hands. Appreciate those words, my man. Thank you. I'm not a hunter, although I bought my first hunting rifle several weeks ago. The longer I live up here, the more I long to connect to the wild on that level. In my mind, it is the most responsible way one can provide for his or herself and others. It is also a profound way to appreciate the true cost and gravity of our relationship with nature. You can't just take and consume without considering the cost. We in the wild are in this together. My whole life I've been close to the woods, and as a small boy my parents allowed me to wander alone amongst the pines, and I would do so for hours. In later years I would skip school and walk again into the woods to be with the pines. It was not unusual for me to find a golden bed of pine needles to take a nap on. I would often climb the tallest pine I could find and just scope out the land. I love to camp solo. My favorite place to camp is on the Grand Manan Island cliffs. At night you can hear the whales sleeping. I also love fly fishing at Grand Lake Stream. As a 53-year-old man, I only now dream of climbing and spend the most of my free time photographing nature. And as a police officer working long rotating shifts and an avid outdoors person, I've seen things we're not supposed to see. The game wardens tell us there are no mountain lions in Maine. I saw one in the summer 2010 run across the U.S. Route 1 right in front of me in the middle of the day as I patrolled through the town of Pembroke. I remember every detail, especially the deceptive speed and long strides. I've seen UFOs, as have other officers, but we are so cautious about sharing. Even when someone sincerely leaves you an opening, you hesitate, fearing looking or sounding ridiculous. I hate it. I'm sure we all do, because deep down we know it is a form of cowardice, but no one wants to be that guy, as they say at the academy. This past fall, I began a routine hike into the woods, my camera in hand. I'd hiked this area many times, at all times of the year. I'd never felt the need to be cautious or afraid, and on this particular afternoon, I came to a place on the trail where a few healthy trees had been bent over the path, forming a kind of archway. Normally, I might compose a photograph at such a spot or just proceed forward without a care. However, this time a fear began to well up in me. I made an effort to focus my hearing and my eyes, and my eyes began to instinctively scan as I stood very still. I saw and heard nothing strange, but I did not trust this. For the first time in my life, I was afraid to move forwards. I sensed a darkness that was not visual. My pride battled with my fear, arguing to move ahead and to quit acting like a kid. And fear won the argument. I felt anger with myself, and the moment as I turned away from one of the sacred places I go to center myself, and briskly walked out of the woods. And as I did so, I looked back over my shoulder more than once, afraid of what I might see. Now, months later, that day haunts me. I'm still pissed at myself and saddened that something has always been a part of me is tainted somehow, and will be until I face it again. Anyway, I'll stop babbling here. I really want to say thank you for being strong for everyone else, but also I want to tell you to never feel guilty about taking time for yourself. Everyone needs a break, even from their passions. For most of 2020, I did not pick up my camera, but when I was ready, I did. When I did pick it up again, my love for it was reignited and my perspectives were refreshed. When you come back from taking care of yourself, you'll find that we're all still here and stronger for it. Godspeed, Peter Harris. P.S. I want my pines back. No doubt, Peter. I know for some people that are here looking for the thrill and the terror of a scary story, a lot of people that share these feelings or sounds they hear, it may not sound like much being read and shared out loud, but I'll tell you what, for a police officer to have the need to come forward and share that, you got to think of the impact that was that moment in life, being absolutely terrified you can't move forward out of the blue. That's something worthy of sharing with the public. Don't you think? I think so. Appreciate you, man. Hope you're still hanging out here. Did I read this? It's marked as read now. Hello, Steve. Thank you for giving a voice. Thank you for giving a voice and support to those who have experienced life-changing encounters. I've been watching your channel first for the hunting and saw the Sasquatch subject evolving here. The purpose of my email is, as the title shows, Sixth Sense. I'm a retired combat engineer, 27 years from the Canadian Forces. I want to talk about a subject you touched on while reading one of your emails sent to you. When I heard this person talking about the Sixth Sense training in the South Korean Army, a vivid memory popped up from my sergeant years as a field craft instructor. I was on a reconnaissance patrol with young trainees. It was in broad daylight, sunny, and in the hills around Cultus Lake, BC area. Lots of sightings around there. I had another junior instructor positioned along my itinerary. I gave him the choice to find his own ambush area to conduct an ambush on my patrol team. As I was approaching an open area in the bush, put a knee down to listen before going out in the open, and after a few minutes I gave the hand sign to move out. 2 files, staggered formation, with myself at point. As soon as we started the advance in the open, in waist-high grass, I quickly signed to halt and kneel down as I got the feeling that I had a weapon pointed at me. I then, without scanning, pointed my weapon in the direction of the threat. I took one man with me as to make a fire team and signaled to the 2 others to do the box, as in going around to flank the threat as my teammate and I advanced in a frontal assault, moving with our weapons at the ready. It is then that I saw through my scope a calmed up, green face paint, face with sweat on his forehead. He was looking all over the place. It is obvious that he had lost visual contact with me as he was hearing the other 2 others approaching his position on his left flank. That's when I said out loud, "Stand up with your weapon over your head and walk toward me. We have you." Then 3 soldiers got up and walked out of their cover in the open as instructed. I talked to the young soldier that had me in his crosshairs. He got spooked when he saw me looking right at him through his scope, 50 meters away and 20 meters deep under the tree canopy. He asked me how I knew. I told him that he had good cover, and it was pure luck to me just to cut the conversation short, as I had no explanation for him at the time. I strongly believe that we all have this ability to sense the danger and to quickly zero in on the threat. Thank you in advance for reading me. I hope this story could help, even though no sighting of Sasquatch involved. Take care and be careful out there. I strongly encourage my brothers in arms out there to share pertinent experiences here. Use my name. Warrant Officer Retired Pat Nouri. Pat, appreciate that, man, and the shout out to your partners. And there you go, you guys. Reminds me of the game warden. Remember the game warden? Sneaking up on the guy on the boat, heavy, thick brush halfway down the lake, small lake. He snuck down on the bush, completely concealed, and he said all of a sudden the guy in the boat started looking all over the place. And then focused right on him in the bushes and paddled right over to him. because he felt him and sensed him and knew something was there, and he went right away and they had a good conversation. I am absolutely convinced we have a lot of skills that have been intentionally rubbed out of us. Absolutely, for sure. Because if we were in tune with all those skills, spineless lizards wouldn't be able to steal our money to fund killing people and their pockets while babies starved. Right? They would be able to do that. If everyone was in tune with their true skills and what we are supposed to be doing here. Sasquatch and Stuff is the title of this email. Hey Steve, enjoy your YouTube show. Thank you for what you do for you. Excuse me, might have been a typo there. I have a number of things to share, included our foot friend. This is a timeline from when I was young to the most recent, which occurred prior to Trump's election versus Hillary. Number 1, 70s. I was 8 or 7. Was living in Coldwater, Cyn, C-Y-N. Went one night to the kitchen to get some water. Mom was sick of getting me water and said I was old enough to get my own. This was one of those times. I was maybe 12 feet from the sink when I froze. Something turned and looked back at me from outside looking in. Today I recognize it as an alien gray of sort, I guess. I can't quite put my finger on it except for the eyes, color, body shape. We looked at each other for what seemed an eternity. After being frozen in fear for so long, its look to me changed, as if it was distortion in the glass. I think I saw what I saw, and it pulled a vanishing act on me. Crazy. Number 2, 1987, Dad was driving me to a pre-freshman program at the U of O. Along the way, very early in the morning, dawn was just starting and everything still had that blue morning color. I was looking down the slope of the creek or river we were driving along, and I spotted something big and hairy. I yelled to my dad and said, "Oh my God, Dad, it's Bigfoot." Dad asked in astonishment, "Oh my God, really, where?" I said, "Back up, I'll show you." Dad stopped the car, backed up, we got out. Dad had grabbed the binoculars, and I showed him the Bigfoot. It was there squatting at the bank of the river, scooping up muck and flinging it behind it. It had been doing this for some time. That we could tell by the it had been doing this for some time that we could tell by the different levels of dryness in the thrown muck. Dad zoomed in and said to me, "Oh my God, son, you're right," and had me with binoculars so I could take a look at it as well. And it was then it took notice of us and stood up and looked at us. And I was astonished and said to my father, "How fast do you think you can get up here?" Dad asked if I wanted to find out, and I said, "No way," and we left. The size of it was, I guess, pretty big. And if you take your index finger and thumb and spread them apart casually and extend your arm out in front of you, that would be the size of it from our perspective. Number 3, I think it was 2005. I can get an exact date if I try. I was at Fort George G. Meade in Maryland. I was at DINFOS and was relocated to a different barracks. A building that was mostly no longer in use. I was sleeping one evening and a cat jumped up on my bed and snuggled in between my legs. I know what it feels like due to having a Siamese cat in my youth who did the same thing. I was sleeping on my stomach and looked over my shoulder and nothing was there except the lump that was pressed on my thighs. I didn't freak out. It was very comforting due to my memory of my long-gone cat. And wow, a ghost cat. Really? No shit. Crazy. Number 4, 2015. I do not believe in humanoid shape-shifting reptiles until this day. One of my neighbors was practically demanding me to get involved with his restraining order of a girl who accosted him. He was an ex-Marine, so he says, and she was a well-endowed young activist female. I didn't want to get involved. I thought it was stupid, having gotten into an argument with the same gal weeks prior. And during his frustrations with me not wanting to get involved, his iris changed from round to slits. I did not react and played it off. I waited until he was done with his rant and I walked away. This was at the Barrington Plaza Apartments near the dog zone for pups. There are various other things I can share, like deja vus and stuff like that, but it's not needed. My name is Richard. I've talked about these things from time to time with others. I don't give a crap if people scoff at me. My life is my own, and I stand by what I've experienced. Hope you have fun reading this testimonial. All right, there you go. The eye slit thing. You know, we've seen that shared in videos online, but sadly today there's so much dog shit online. It's annihilated it for truth, right? I mean, how can we ever take any kind of a video seriously? I'm trying to stay on the same topic as those eye slits, because I think we've probably all seen a few videos of these people showing their eyes changing to slits like snake eyes. But what do you do now? I guess unless we all have somebody who we feel is absolutely credible and all of a sudden comes up with a video. You know what I mean? Somebody you trust with your life, like my grandfather or Sarah, whatever. But it sounds like, I mean, if that was somebody who had these alleged reptilian in them, I don't think they would be bothering some kind of a restraining order. They'd probably just go kill the person or something, you would think. I don't know. Unless maybe they've got some kind of a slight hint of DNA in their blood and they don't know about it. I've seen people's eyes change. Sarah, she always stresses about how her violent, abusive, heroin-addicted ex, dirtbag, who broke bones in her body in front of her children, she said his eyes would turn black, raging in her eye. She said it was terrifying. His eyes would turn black. Crazy, right? Crazy. Moving along. Appreciate your email. Big time. Next up. Bigfoot encounter in South Carolina. Said many. Steve, I'm a new viewer to your channel, but I can't stop watching your videos. I don't know you, but you seem like an honest and trustworthy individual. Appreciate what you're doing and giving people an outlet to share their experiences and bring more information about Bigfoot to light. Right on. Appreciate the kind words. Appreciate it. My story isn't as entertaining as some that you have shared, but I'd like to tell it anyway. That's what we're after. This channel is 100% not about entertainment. A couple years ago, I was duck hunting in some wetlands in the middle of a national forest in South Carolina. I was sitting alone on an old tree stump in about waist-high water, enjoying the peacefulness of nature and waiting for shooting light. It was still pitch black out, so I required a headlamp to make it to the spot where I was set up. And as I was sitting there in the dark, I heard the oddest yell/scream I've ever heard in my life. It sounded like a cross between a dog and a human. Weird. I heard it a few times, but I could tell it was a long distance away and just told myself that it was probably a coyote or something and not to worry about it, even though I knew this wasn't a coyote. And a few minutes later, and about 50 yards from me on the other side of the water, I heard about 3 loud thumps on a tree that sounded like someone took a baseball bat or 2x4 and whacked the tree. I heard another group of hunters off in the distance coming down the same trail that I had taken to reach the wetlands, and whatever it was that knocked on the tree immediately took off. There were a lot of leaves in the ground on the banks of the swamp, and I could hear each step the creature took. The distance this creature traveled with each step was unlike anything I've ever heard or witnessed. It took about 7 to 10 steps and was out of range for me to hear it. That'd be crazy to hear that, wouldn't it? Think about it. If you ever heard something running through the leaves, including yourself, picture 7 steps and that distance disappearing in your ear. It sent a chill down my spine, and I wanted to get up and leave. Even though I couldn't see it, I knew that this couldn't have been a human because there's no way it could have traveled in the pitch black without a light, and it moved too quickly and too easily through the muddy swamp. I think that it knew I was there, and the other hunters coming down the trail scared it off. I ended up staying that morning and finishing my hunt, but I couldn't stop thinking about what I had heard before sunrise. No doubt. Thank you for your time, and for sharing my story. I'd appreciate it if you don't use my name, as I haven't shared this story with many people before. Thanks. I got you, man. Too easy. I got you. Welcome to the club. You know what it was. Roughly. You roughly know what it was. You know what it wasn't. You know what it wasn't. A Strange Day on the Tracks is the title of this next email. Hey Steve, my name is Dan. I'm 35 and I live in western central Vermont, USA, right next to the Vermont/New York border. I grew up hunting as a young kid with my dad and stepdad, but gave it up as a young man. This isn't a hunting story. I write graffiti. I paint trains. Here in Vermont, a lot of times trains are out in the middle of nowhere waiting to be taken to their next stop. I've heard over the years from family stories about the strange stuff you can see in the gut of the woods. I'm not far from Whitehall, New York, and there are very well-known cases of sightings from that area. I've seen whitetail, woodchuck, black bear, and everything in between when I'm out painting. And I was way out in the woods in the railroad tracks in an area around Clarendon, Vermont in 2010. It was an exciting day because TTX boxcars are rare out there. It was about 3 p.m. in June. We made our way down the tracks. We'd been painting for about an hour and took a break to have an adult beverage and relax a few minutes. And I was smoking a cigarette when I started hearing loud snaps, like a skidder pulling stumps. That's loud. I just assumed it was loggers because we'd heard chainsaws in the distance all afternoon. And I started feeling like there was something looking at me. I could feel the something is watching feeling the whole time I was sitting there. And after waiting for the paint to dry, we started finishing up when the smell of death started filling the air. The only way I can explain it was death and skunk, like roadkill times 10. My paint partner then is a state trooper now and refuses to talk about it to this day. I've tried. We were rat-ass kids and trains were our lives. We'd walk miles into the woods to hit good trains. Excuse me, I was finishing up when the snap sounds got closer and louder. I'm 6'7" and can clear the tracks in 6 steps. But just as we were getting ready to leave, out of the corner of my eye, I thought for sure a black bear was crossing the tracks. And I turned to see a black/gray being, 8 feet plus tall with large female anatomy, clear the tracks in 2 steps. I asked my partner if he saw it, and the only thing he said was, "Let's effing go." We booked it. The smell is the part I can never forget, and the feeling of being watched is still something I feel. It's not paranoia. She's definitely around. I've been there many times alone and with other graffiti writers and never felt scared. However, I always bring some apples as a gesture of thanks. I believe we're tolerated there. I think snacks are the key to coexistence with this epic people. It wasn't a bear. I'm not crazy. I'm not keen on being best buddies with this creature, so we stay out of there in the spring when the little ones might be around. Thanks for validating that I'm not crazy. If you want to know more, I'm around. Please leave my last name out of it if you ever use this. Thank you so much, man. Appreciate everything you're doing. Okay, Dan, gotcha. There you go. Welcome to the club. Welcome to the club. I don't have any knowledge at all with the graffiti painter subculture at all myself. I mean, obviously, everybody's going to have different opinions, right? I'm not big on seeing spray paint on buildings and shit. Myself, not that's what the topic is. To each their own. Do what you do in life. But thanks for sharing that email, man. Thank you. Next. Goats taken, question mark. Hi, Steve. My name is Alan Singer. I don't mind if you share my name. I've been watching your channel for the last year now, and I really appreciate what you're doing. You're sharing the truth that people need to know. For me, that's very important, and I just wanted to tell you to keep on keeping on. Thanks again for your time and help. Appreciate it, man. And I will. So, some backdrop. I live in Albuquerque, New Mexico, and I'm an avid hunter, fisher, and general outdoorsman. I've personally never had a visual encounter with the beings, but as much as I've been in the woods, it would be hard for me to believe that I haven't been in close proximity to them or even observed by them. I've had the hair on the back of my neck stand up and had a feeling that something just wasn't right plenty of times hunting alone in the woods. And at the time, I attributed to a big cat possibly stalking me, but it would not be a stretch for me to think that maybe it wasn't. Okay, now to my story. My father also lives in Albuquerque. He lives in the northmost part of town, and his house borders the Rio Grande River Valley. The river and the habitat, I think he meant habitat, stretch for probably 50 miles of undisturbed Native American land that runs pretty close to my dad's property. My dad has a thing for animals. He has 7 dogs and 6 cats. So, 6 months ago, we bought 3 goats to live in his 3-acre yard. His yard borders a ditch that runs parallel to the river valley. I went by and interacted with these goats a couple times. They're very skittish, to say the least. Then I would walk up to them with a handful of food. They would warily approach me, and if I so much as flinched, they would bolt. These goats were fast. I tried to catch them, and it wasn't possible. Not even close. They were fast. They each weighed about 80 pounds. At night, my dad takes in the dogs to sleep inside because his wife thinks that hunting dogs should sleep indoors at night. Go figure. So in the morning, my dad's wife went outside to feed the goats. Well, she found one of them dead, tore up like an animal had gotten to it, and the other 2 were gone, just vanished. When I spoke with my father about this, he thought that the coyotes maybe got them. Well, there's a huge problem with that. My dad has a 7.5-foot fence that wraps the whole yard. Also, I personally installed 6.5-inch chicken wire under the fence so the dogs couldn't dig out. So in my opinion, a coyote might have got the one in our yard, but a coyote could not and would not have went back for the other 2. It's not possible for a coyote to get these things over or under the fence. Moreover, I don't know a coyote in the world that wouldn't be satisfied with eating one of these things. They were big, and I thought maybe a person got them. But again, I could not catch these goats if I tried. I never thought of a Sasquatch so near a big city, but there's enough habitat to sustain big animals there. I just don't know what could have got these goats. Thanks again for what you do, Steve. Keep on with the good fight. All right, man. Appreciate it, Alan. I don't know either, but I can kind of share an experience directly with some goats and a 6-foot fence. A handful of years ago, back in Pemberton, right near Mount Curry, my neighbors had 2 goats, and they were like, how big are those suckers? 80 pounds? 80-ish pounds, I think. Had 2 of them pets, go in and out of the house and shit, and had a pen in the backyard of the 6-foot fence, and all hell broke loose. The man of the house isn't a hunter, no guns. All hell breaks loose. And allegedly there was a massive black bear that got in there. That sucker went over the fence, and he took that 80-pound goat over the fence and got it out of there. And then they contacted me the next day. I guess they were just shitting themselves. And then what else had that bear? So they had 1 goat left. What did they do? They left it outside the next night, and the bear got it too. That they could hear it in the backyard. They were freaking out. So, and they're calling me. So I go run over there in the pitch black. And he took off. I'll tell you what, when any species of animal, in every species of animal, what this wildlife biologist taught me years ago is there is always that small percentage of the population of that species that is just too smart for us to see them. And when he taught me that years ago, all my hunting changed. And I started hunting those animals that we just can't see. And I started getting them. Another story, but anyway. So I sat there. How did I do this? First, I got my bow. I think there's a police officer who lived it's fairly rural. Cop lived a couple houses down, and the mayor of town lived a few more over. And we didn't need to be blowing off a rifle in the night. You could discharge a firearm there, right there. But anyway, so I got my bow, and there's the goat. And I sat there, pitch freaking black, just a little bit of a glow, one light that was off in the distance. And there's a little wood bridge went over the slough. And dead quiet. Dead quiet. And I'm sitting there waiting. And I knew if this guy comes out, we're going to be about, I don't know, 20 feet from it, where I'm guessing it's going to come back, if it comes back. And I'm not kidding you. I'm sitting there in the pitch black under the shade of this one tree next to their house. Bushes all around, thick bush. And, this huge bear, it had growled at and chased him. Growled at the kids, some kids. It was on my buddy's porch, growled at his wife as well on the porch. He's a bad bear, big. And all of a sudden you could just see this big shadow was just there, boom, right there, coming out on this little wood plank that went across the slough. And they're so stealthy, he's just coming out. He's coming in like dead slow, like his sixth senses are going off. I'm looking at him, and then I'm sitting there, and I shoot instinctive with a bow and sights. Anyway, but he's close enough. I'm gonna kill him, and then he. It's so eerie when you do that. I've waited on grizzlies, same thing. When they're intent on being stealth, it's creepier than shit when you're close, and all of a sudden, because they're just there, you don't hear anything. Boom, they're just there, right in front of you, and see this big shadow move, stop. And then he's slowly coming again. He's going for that goat. Was going to put him right in front of me. And it's dead freaking quiet. And I wanted to pull my bow back. And boom, just like that. He spins and takes off like greased lightning. Then what do? I grabbed that goat and I put it up behind my buddy's pasture, right where my horses were. And I tied it. And I mean, I had no bow line for my boat sitting there in a heavy 3/4 rope. And I wrapped that rope around that goat in the fence post like you wouldn't believe. And we sat in my pickup truck, facing it. And my buddy was sitting in the passenger seat. And we had the windows rolled down and had my door open just a little bit. And I shoot left, so it was perfect on the driver's seat. And I got my 300 Magnum. It's like, this guy's getting it, no matter what. It was so creepy. We sat there forever, dead quiet. And all of a sudden you hear the fence, the wood post creaking. And then I go hit the light. It hits the light, and here's these two great big eyeballs over top of the goat, wrapped around it from behind. And it was just pitch black. I couldn't pick out where to shoot him. And then, gone again. Gone again. And I knew he was going to hit that goat again. So the next day in the daytime, I went looking for him out back and ended up getting him my bow. Stuck an arrow in him and shish kebabbed him. Got him. But anyways, holy shit, that was a bit of a babble, wasn't it? I'm just saying, that bear was so big, he grabbed that 80-ish pound goat from their backyard, and he launched himself and got over that 6-foot fence with it. So there you go. That's all I can add to that from first-hand experience. Am I saying a bear got the 2 goats? I don't know. If it was one night, nope. If it was 24 hours, no way. They're going to do that one at a time, right? I know from past experience. Cats, big cats, they'll go in there and they'll kill everything and they'll leave it there. So, who knows? Who knows? 2 goats gone. Okay. Oh, itchy ear. Next. My experience in Appalachian mountains. No shortage around that zone. Hello. My family and I live in the foothills of the Great Smoky Mountains in East Tennessee. My family have lived here for generations. As a country girl, I grew up camping, hunting, and fishing. My husband and I are raising our 2 young daughters in the same fashion. I would like to share my and my daughter's experiences. To begin with, I was never a believer nor a skeptic. The thought of Bigfoot never really crossed my mind, but I am a believer now. We like to call it a knowing. It's a knowing, accepting of the facts. Experience number 1, 2016. My family lived in a rural area at the head of a holler hollow, about a mile off the main highway. It's a great place to walk, ride bikes, etc. And one spring afternoon, I was walking alone, getting in some exercise. I had my earphones on, listening to music at a low level. I always want to be aware in the event of meeting up with a vehicle. The road has lots of elevation changes, twists, turns, etc. And I was nearing an area that had the remnant of an old barn that had been demolished and burned. The tin from the old roof still lay in a heap, and as I was coming around the bend in the road, I could hear a loud banging noise. It took me a moment to realize that it was coming from the old barn area and the tin roof. By the time I realized where the noise was coming from, I was almost parallel to the old barn site. The road starts climbing in elevation. I sped up and I glanced over to my right, and I could see something moving in the heavy brush and trees. I cannot verify the height, however, I could plainly see long, auburn/brown, stringy hair. Not fur, hair. It also looked to be very wide. I swear this thing had to have been lifting up on the tin roof and smashing it back down into the crumpled heap. Hold on. All good, no intruders. Instantly, I knew that this was not a black bear, a deer, a mountain lion, a bobcat, wild hog, or anything else that I witnessed. It just didn't feel right. This thing was on my family's ancestral property, but I felt like the intruder. I promptly began running towards the main highway, and it was about a half a mile away. If I was going to be mauled by a wild animal, hopefully a motorist would stop to assist me. As soon as I got to the main road, I called my husband and told him to come and pick me up and bring a rifle. I'd seen something. He quickly came to the rescue, but of course, we saw nothing as we drove back toward our house and stopped at the old barn site to investigate. My husband tells me that I have PTSD from this incident. I've told him that it's always in the back of my mind as I travel by that area each day, and I am hesitant to walk the road by myself again. To my husband's credit, he's not dismissed my story. He knows that I witnessed something that really upset me. Well, that's good to hear. Experience number 2, 2017. One morning I was in the garage loading my 2 daughters, then ages 6 and 4, into the family SUV, getting ready to head out to daycare and school. My then 4-year-old has a teddy bear that had to go everywhere with her. And as I was buckling her into the car seat, my oldest daughter started yelling and pointing, "Bear, Mama, bear." I assumed she was worried that her sister had not gotten her teddy bear to take with her to daycare. I replied, "She has her bear, it's okay." By then, both girls were pointing towards the window in the garage, freaking out, yelling, "Bear." I quickly shut the car doors, turned around towards the window. I didn't see anything. My oldest daughter said the bear had hopped down. I hit the button for the garage door, assuming the noise would scare it off. And as we pulled out of the garage, I glanced around to where it had been. I didn't see anything, but it would have had ample time to run into the forest behind the house. My then 6-year-old began to tell me that when she first noticed it, she thought that it was just my shadow. But then she realized it was much bigger than me, and I'm 6 foot tall. I then asked her where the bear's head was at the window. She said it was almost touching the top of the window. Later that evening, I took a measuring tape to the outside of my garage to the window. The bear's head would have been almost 9 feet tall. What are the odds that a bear would be watching our normal morning routine of me loading my children into our car? On the way to school, I asked my oldest daughter to repeat the story a few more times, and she also repeated the story to her dad and to both of her grandfathers. She did not, and has not, deviated from her story at all. This little girl is very astute for age. She's responsible and does not have a wild imagination. And based on her and her sister's reactions, I know that they saw something, and it really concerns me. I know that a child would be an easy target for something so large. Since then, I make sure that my kids are supervised 100% of the time while they are outside playing. I'm also more observant in my surroundings. I cannot stand the thought of something like this potentially hanging around my home. I found your YouTube channel just by chance. Usually that's how everybody's found it. It's a wonderful thing that you're doing. These stories need to be heard and taken seriously. Thanks, a concerned mom in Tennessee. P.S. I'm a secretary for a local government office, and my husband is a firefighter / paramedic. All right. Thank you so much for that share, and I'm feeling for you. I feel for you. I remember had a man that had really had as well assisted in the impact all this has had on me for wanting to make sure the people are heard, right? And this guy phoned me, A-type hunter, 3 kids, and what he said, what upset him the most, and basically the same thing happened to him as you, is the fact that he said he's now feels like he's the worst dad in the world because he cannot let his children play out in the yard without standing there watching them with a gun nearby. Understandably, right? I mean, who can blame him? I couldn't. Who could blame him? I mean, in this particular incident, this lady who emailed in, you need a Ruby dog, right? That's the rule around here. When we have all these little munchkins come and stay with us, they're not allowed to go outside without a dog outside. Period. Never. Ever. Never. Those big dogs. You got to get that big family-oriented dog that's going to absolutely protect big time and hover, right? It's a shitty deal. It's a shitty freaking deal. No matter how many times some other people say they don't hurt human beings, they just like to watch us. Oh, okay. No problem. I'll just leave my 4 and 6-year-old out in the back 40 next to that 9-foot-tall, hairy, man-like being standing there staring at him from the shadows. All good. They say it's harmless. Nobody would let their children play in the backyard if there was a human male standing in the bushes watching them. Right? I mean, even just imagine the impact. Even for me right now, I'm looking out the slider window I put on the wall here to that forest and bush out back. Imagine the alarm. You look over and all of a sudden there's like a 6-foot-tall man standing there. Eyes locked on me, watching me. Picture that one, you guys, for all of you. Doesn't matter where you are. Picture it. Strange man, don't know who the hell he is, standing there either on your personal property or right on the other side of the fence, staring at you. You gonna let your kids go out there and play? You gonna feel good about that for the next week, month, summer, next year? You're not. You're not. It's gonna ruin everything, right? It's gonna ruin it. Then what are you gonna do? What are you gonna do then? Yeah. Got the same shit going on here, you know. Last summer, Sarah, I mentioned this before, there's a road back here that goes by this park along the river. And she's walking down that road. She said that the dog started acting really weird. And this is exactly what she said. I smell the stink. This nasty stink. And then she said she felt as though someone was right behind her. Drove her, and she said it was very, very unnerving. She goes, I could just feel it. Something is right behind me, like right behind me. And I was in the middle of the road, couldn't see nothing. Odd, right? But what do you do? What do you do? Lock yourself up in a bedroom for the rest of your life and phone Uber Eats or whoever it is, skip the dishes to feed you for the rest of your existence? You can't. You just got to keep living, right? You got to push through it, keep living. But I don't know. What about all the people here? There's tens of thousands of people watching this video. What would you guys do? What kind of advice would you offer up to a parent living rural who has one of these people watching their kids? What advice would you give? Throw it down in the comment section below. Right? Throw it down in the comment section below. Why do they do that? Such bold. Like I said, so contradicting how the actions. Like a couple emails ago today. You know, the guy heard the banging. And then he heard other fishermen coming and thing took off. They got the confidence to sneak up on you, watch you hide behind a tree and look at you. Oh, somebody's coming. Oh my God, I gotta get out of here. And then all of a sudden, boom, They're the exact opposite of their demeanor, just like that for the most slightest thing. They go from brave, stealth, confidence to shitting their pants, got to get out of here. Doesn't make sense. And then they go from don't put your eyes on me, I'm running, to I'm just going to sneak up to your house and look inside the window right at you and the kids. That's some confidence. Think about that one. That is some fierce confidence to do that, especially rurally. Could you imagine all you people that live rural like I do going up to a rural home, broad daylight, and sticking your face in the window and peeking in? That's high risk, right? Don't you think? I would expect to catch lead through the window if I did something like that. You just common sense, right? I'm just trying to point out the confidence in their actions. And then that same being shitting himself can't get out of your eyesight fast enough. Doesn't make sense to me. As I add together my booklet of knowledge I'm gathering on just alone on what they do, their habits, how they react, how they move, what they're focusing on, what attracts them, what interests them, what scares them. I've been doing that the whole time. And it's, for a professional hunter, it's a confusing chunk of information to gather and keep it on a shelf and make sense of later on. Anyways, I'm babbling away. So, news. I'm going to pack up all my stuff again. This time, we're going to take Sarah out fishing, and she said she changed some setting on the Starlink, so she's confident that we can stream live. I'm going to try it again tomorrow morning. Tomorrow morning, we are going to stream us live on the coast, and we'll see how that goes. Apparently, big run of big fish has finally arrived. So that's going to be exciting. And I also I was catching herring on a herring jig last time I was up by myself. And we went to the pet store yesterday and I bought an $11 pump, battery operated pump with a hose and a thing that goes on the end for a live well for bait. So I'm going to put that in the bucket, throws the oxygen in there, and hopefully catch some herring and squid for live bait and throw it down and film. And we're going to do it live. If you're interested, you can watch it. If not, all good. More importantly, though, if you got something you want to add to the knowledge for all the good, honest, free people here, email me at sharemystory@howtohunt.com. All right? Email me. Fishing's fishing. Still there. I don't know what days she's got available. There's 3 boats altogether. Yeah, what else? That's about it. She's got her decals. The decals. Canada, we call them decals. Stickers. She's got a bunch of those. She also went out of her way the other day and she designed this new design. It's pretty freaking cool, actually. It's pretty cool. You'll see it when it gets here. She did that a few days ago. It's pretty impressive what she's taught herself. But anyway, there you go. Pray for the hungry people, you guys. Pray for the hungry children. Pray for the people about to be wiped out in the name of big business, money, and power. Pray for good. I guess pray for everyone, but pray for the bright light, the good, and yeah. All right, I gotta go. I'm drifting off. My brain's going in 6 different directions. Make sure you do what you love to do, all right? No matter what. If I was to die tomorrow, my last words would be to make sure you do what you love to do at all costs. Even if it's for a short time, whatever you can squeeze out, just make sure you do what you love to do and pass that encouragement on to someone else too, all right? And hopefully we will be here live tomorrow morning. Later.